This being your third season, it seems like you've been a lot more assertive or spicy this year.
Think so? I'm not really spicy. That's good. I mean, I feel like for me, it's just my approach. It's just coming in and just trying to be dominant in anything the team needs. And so if that gives off spicy, which I really don't think it does, I feel like I'm like kind of quiet. Spice? No, I just not spicy. But yeah, I feel like that's just been my mindset, is just coming in and just being the player that I need to be for us. Whatever that looks like, it looks like.
This being your third season, it seems like you've been a lot more assertive or spicy this year. I think so. I like spicy. I mean, I feel like for me it's just my approach is just coming in and just trying to be dominant in anything the team needs. And so if that gives off spicy, which I really don't think it does, I feel like I'm like kind of quiet. Spice. No, I'm just not spicy. But yeah, I feel like that's just been my mindset, is just coming in and just being the player that I need to be for us. Whatever that looks like, it looks like. What does a locker room mantra, a bruising blowout, and a playoff berth have in common? For the Indiana Fever, everything. Their 94-65 win over the Washington Mystics wasn't just a victory. It was survival and defiance rolled into one. And in the middle of it all, Aliyah Boston dropped a line that has teammates buzzing and fans demanding to know more. What exactly did she say? And why is it the mindset carrying Indiana into the playoffs without their superstar Caitlin Clark and 4 other injured players? Stick around, because this is more than just basketball. If you're fired up for the playoffs, then comment Fever Playoffs. Let's go. Playoff. Oh, we twitch, baby. W Playoffs. Yeah. Playoffs, baby. Fitch in transition. Blaze that up and in for our first bucket of the game. Music, Sims off the cross. Cross again into the paint. Lays it off. And how can a playoff team lose half its rotation and still find a way to survive? That's the story of the Indiana Fever this season. Their roster didn't just take a hit, it was gutted. Caitlin Clark, the sophomore sensation who was supposed to lead this team into a new era, was lost after only 13 games with a torn groin. Sophie Cunningham gone with a knee injury. Chloe BBY done with a knee injury. Sydney Carlson sidelined. Ari McDonald finished with a foot injury. 5 names, 5 contributors cut from the picture. When that many core players disappear, most teams crash. For Indiana, this became their test. When you think back to the beginning of the season, if someone were to tell you like this is where you would be, this is your team's season, like genuinely, what do you think the reaction would be? Probably no thinking way. I don't thinking back to the beginning of the season that anyone would have ever foreseen it going like this. Clark's injury carried the heaviest blow. She was averaging over 16 points and setting the kind of playmaking standard that had Fever fans believing the postseason wasn't just possible, it was expected. When the announcement came down that she was out for the season, you could feel the shock ripple not just through Indiana, but across the basketball world. Fans who had been packing Gainbridge Fieldhouse were left asking how this team could possibly keep pace without their biggest star. Analysts lined up to say the Fever's playoff dreams were over. Even if things looked like it got harder for us, it was about sticking together. And I think through everything, you're able to see that us play with joy. Us play together regardless of who's on that floor. And it wasn't only Clark. The constant rotation of hardship signings made Indiana look less like a stable roster and more like a moving train people were trying to jump onto. 18 different players have suited up at some point. Imagine taking a team photo at the start of the year, then halfway through realizing almost every face in that picture has been replaced. Odyssey Sims flying in, Shaw Petty stepping into minutes, Aerial Powers carving out a role. It wasn't strategy as much as survival, and survival doesn't usually end in a playoff push. For whatever reason, things happen and you've got to continue to put your best foot forward. You got to continue to stay the course. This group has been forced to grow strong roots and teams can go one of two ways when those things happen. You either use it to pull you together and as motivation to continue to get better and do it for one another and do it for your teammates that have been lost to injury. Or it pulls some teams apart. That's where Stephanie White's leadership made the difference. Even with her roster wiped out, she didn't push panic buttons. She simplified the system, streamlined rotations, and got players to focus on the foundation. White even admitted the staff had to think outside the box to maximize what they had. She knew glossing over the adversity would be a mistake. Instead, she leaned into it, reminding her group how tough they were physically and mentally, and the players followed. When I look at this group, I'm just so incredibly thankful for the type of people that we have in this locker room. For the way that they have been able to continue to stay the course and bounce back and stay together. To pull for one another, to really be flexible enough to make space for different types of teams that we've had throughout the course of the year, and to continue to put ourselves in position. By August, doubts gave way to something else. Resilience. What was supposed to be the downfall of this team became its hidden weapon. No superstar to lean on? No problem. Every woman on the roster learned to shoulder the weight. That next woman up mantra that started as a necessity turned into their identity. And once they carried it into Washington, the toughness that had been forced on them all season finally exploded into dominance. Inside Howard off the window, the bucket and the foul. Petty 3. Knocks it down again. Lost the handle. Gets it back. Gets right to the hoop and she drops it home. 4 Fever 94. Mystic 65. Indiana's in. And now you know, despite all the adversity, this incredibly resilient Fever team is going back to the playoffs in 2025. How do you turn heartbreak into a 29-point demolition? The Indiana Fever found that answer on the road against the Washington Mystics, and it came in the form of a win so commanding, it felt less like a basketball game and more like a message to the entire league. This wasn't just any win. It was the one that clinched a return to the playoffs and proved that even without Caitlin Clark, this team has more than one engine powering it forward. The game didn't look like a blowout in the opening half. Washington came out strong, forcing Indiana into tough looks and trading buckets to keep things tight. The Fever's offense wasn't clicking early. And if you had been watching, you could feel a bit of that nervous tension in the air. The Mystics had momentum, and with Clark, Cunningham, McDonald, BBY, and Carlson all sidelined, the question was real. Could Indiana hold its ground, or would this be the kind of night that slips away? And more than anything, y'all, big picture wise, this group, there would have been so many teams that would have folded with all that we've been through. And we just kept getting better, and we kept getting tougher, and we kept becoming more resilient, and we kept figuring things out, right? Like we've had like 7 new teams throughout the course of this, and no matter what we've been flexible, we've been accountable. We've put each other in positions to be successful, and we've continued to put one foot forward and stayed the course. By halftime, it was competitive, but the tone completely flipped when the third quarter rolled around. The Fever locked down defensively in a way that didn't just slow Washington. It smothered them. The Mystics managed only 9 points in that entire frame. 9. That's not just a cold streak. That's near total shutdown basketball. Every passing lane felt disrupted. Every matchup contested. And suddenly, Indiana looked like the hungrier team on both ends. From there, the lead ballooned, climbing past 20, past 25, and eventually stretching to a 33-point gap at its peak. You just don't know what she's going to do. I mean, she's so crafty with her shot decisions. Howard right through the hoop, high out the window. She's slicing through that paint. Angler backed. It ends up with aerial powers inside. Howard off the window, the bucket, and the foul by the rookie all-star Sonia Citron. Howard quickly backed number 8 and I got the 34. The numbers told a story, but the individual plays told the rest. Natasha Howard stepped up exactly when Indiana needed her most. Pouring in a game-high 17 points and punishing Washington every chance she got near the rim. Dolson had to stay home because she had an occupied side in terms of a putter in her area. She stayed free. Knocks it down again. Flip it. He's just such a solid stabilizer for Washington. Howard right to the hoop, lays it out today. Fourth foul on Austin. Boston down low. Double come. Drops back to Howard. He lays it up and in. Aliyah Boston brought her steady dominance again, finishing with another double-double, 12 points, and 11 rebounds, giving Indiana control of the paint on both ends. So Craves in there. Get off and get loose. Mitchell 3 off the mark. Long rebound ends up with Sims. It's Sims. Nice pocket pass. Boston foul line jumper. And just when it seemed like the Fever would need more scoring to put the game away, Ariel Powers surged off the bench with 15 points, 6 rebounds, and 4 assists. Looking like the spark plug that refused to let the energy dip. Austin got that rebound. Here's Powers. Lost the handle. Gets it back. Gets right to the hoop. There she dropped and hold. 8 on the shot clock here for SECRE. It's a free screen that they got the switch they want. Oh, couldn't get it in. Tough turnover there for Watson. The loose ball collected by Dolson as SECRE brings it over half. Powers in the passing lane. No one to beat. Lays it up and in. See if they can get back to that and connect plays and stack possessions with that level of effectiveness.